All right, it's 7 p.m. We're going to begin this regular meeting of the Rutherford Board of Education, January 27, 2025. We're going to ask everyone to please stand, face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll ask Mr. Whitford to please take roll.
Mr. Bogosian?
Present.
Mrs. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Conti?
Present.
Mr. Healy?
Here.
Mrs. Jones?
Present.
Mr. Maison? Here. Dr. Racine? Here. Mr. Sprayberry? Present. Dr. Lottie?
Here.
Ms. Iorio?
Here.
All right. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meeting of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Rutherford Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place posted on the bulletin board outside the Borough Clerk's office, mailed to the Herald, South Bergenite, and the Record newspapers, and filed with the Borough Clerk. Hard copies of the agenda are available in the meeting room, and the agenda is posted electronically on Friday before the meeting date on the district's website at www.rutherfordschools.org. Subsequent to the meeting, the video of the meeting will be uploaded to the district's website, www.rutherfordschools.org. The video link can be found by opening the Board of Education link and clicking on Public Meetings and then Videos. So board members, in your packets, there are minutes to approve from the regular meeting of January 6th, 2025. Any questions or comments about those? All right, seeing none, I'll ask Mr. Whitford to please enter those. And we are going to begin with the report of the student representative, Ms. Sarah Iorio. Over to you.
Good evening. Semester 2 classes started today, and the high school students are looking forward to the second half of the year. Midterms concluded last Thursday, and although they went well, students are definitely happy that they're over and ready to move on. Winter sports are going well so far. Senior nights for each sport have been taking place this past week, and they will continue in the coming days. 4 RHS students placed in the top 8 in their respective events during the Future Business Leaders of America regional competition, where students took online tests on various business subjects of their choosing. 11 students from RHS were chosen to be a part of the Bergen County Chorus and recently performed at Paramus High School with other schools in the county. This is a great opportunity and a very esteemed honor. One thing that happened before winter break that I never got to report on was a visit from Judge Gaida to the Finding Happiness Through Mindfulness class at RHS. He shared some personal experiences from his legal career and some of the ups and downs that he has faced in order to encourage the importance of remaining positive even through tough times. Tomorrow, the Consumer Bowl team will be competing in the county competition taking place at Bergen County Courthouse. The senior fashion show is happening February 5th at the Venetian. There will be some underclassmen volunteers as well who will be helping the night run smoothly by delivering prizes to winners.
Isn't Judge Guy a great speaker?
I didn't get to hear it, but yeah, I've heard. Heroes and Cool Kids is preparing for their second visit to Pierpont School this week, where they will be discussing building character and educating the 6th grade students on different aspects of bullying and how to prevent it. Student Council and Pep Club will be having their annual Valentine's Day Candygram sale soon, and they will be selling teddy bears and bracelets this year as well. From the other schools, both Lincoln School and the Kindergarten Center shared that they are participating in the Great Kindness Challenge this week. The Kindergarten Center also shared a new tool that they are offering families in order to promote children's independence called letgrow.org. Lincoln and Pierpont School have each started their One School, One Book initiative as well. Lincoln School is reading Just Harriet, and the author will be coming to speak to students and sign books at Lincoln and Washington schools thanks to the PTAs. Pierpont School is reading the novel Rump and is hosting a virtual author visit as well as other activities taking place in the next few weeks, such as their book-themed Spirit Week. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
Good job.
Awesome. Thank you. Great.
All right, thank you. Yeah. Any questions or comments from board members?
Well, Sarah is one of the 4 students for the FBLA that's advancing on to the state competition.
Awesome. Nice. Congrats.
So we're very, business communications, was it? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, was ours. And we have 3 other students that have gone to the state. And in addition, I believe, to the 11 students who got the county choir, I think 3 were selected to the Region 1 choir, which is a larger area of the state. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think 500 students were auditioned for that. So, congratulations to all of them. So, and congratulations, Sarah.
Thank you.
So we're learning that humility is one of your characteristics. So as you look forward to the second part of the year, is there anything you're looking most forward to?
Well, I think definitely for me and the junior class, our junior formal coming up. And I mean, for the seniors, obviously they have a lot of fun stuff like prom and graduation and everything.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. We always appreciate your reports. Feel free to stay if you'd like to, and if you have homework and other commitments, we understand as well. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, honey. Stay warm.
Good luck.
Yes,
Yes, good luck.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so over to Mr. Hurley for the report of the superintendent and discuss the fall 2024 NJ GPA report of student achievement.
Right, this is a very small report. It's not like the others that I give on student achievement. For students who did not make the cut, for lack of a better word, on the spring test, they have an opportunity, if they choose, to retake the state assessment for graduation in the fall. A small number of students are obviously taking that. So with the small number, you don't really like to give too much identifying information. But we do have students who became graduation ready based on the test. Some are still not graduation ready, which is not unusual. So to support those students who don't pass the fall test in either language arts or math, the next step is they develop portfolios. They're compiled with the assistance of teachers and the director of guidance. And then those portfolios are submitted to the state, and the state can then, the state reviews them and awards proficiency if they're so worthy. So we did have a total of 12 students in ELA, and we had 23 in math. And like I said, because of the small number, we don't give the exact numbers of how many are ready or not ready, okay? I want to mention a couple of things that are on the agenda tonight, on the items on the agenda tonight, and there'll be a few that I'll mention when we get there. One, we do have 2 more retirements. Sue Shartino is a longtime clerical assistant here at the high school, but Jeff Dorn, who has been well over 30 years as a student assistance counselor. When Jeff first came on board about 34 years ago, it was really it was called a substance abuse counselor in those days. It has expanded. And Jeff was one of the few. Rutherford's always been a little bit on the cutting edge with that. One of the few really around the state. And some of the things that now are a matter of course, he and a few of his colleagues around the county started them, like these groups and things like that. So Jeff will be retiring at the end of the academic year. Also on the agenda is a calendar change, which for this year, due to the change in the primary date from June 3rd to June 10th. So we will move our professional development day from June 3rd to June 10th, and June 10th would be the day that school will be closed for students because of the primary election. We started doing that several years ago as the additional security measure, and I do think this year with the gubernatorial race, the primary might even draw a few more folks come in to vote. Along the lines of security, there's an item on the agenda, an addendum to the Uniform Memorandum of Agreement. Every year, as you probably remember, the state issues a memorandum of agreement between school districts and the local police. It's probably a 70 or 80-page document. A lot of it is boilerplate, statewide, but some of it can be, modified to the local. And every year I sit with Chief Russo, and the board approves it. This year, in the memorandum of agreement, there was the addition that if you had live streaming video available, the memorandum did not say you had to get live streaming video, but if you have it, like we do, you had to provide access to the police if there was an emergency situation. So the memorandum also called for a separate memorandum, just spelling out the stipulations of how that would work. So I sat with Chief Russo, we sat with IT, and we identified who in the police department would be given access to the live stream. We don't want, nor does the law allow, nor does Chief Russo want, the police watching the building. So it's very clearly stipulated in the law that it would only be in an event that you would be calling the police to come in for an emergency, okay? But rather than, finding someone to throw that switch, right, during an emergency, we're just going to give them access and monitor, and both sides will monitor to make sure that no one is coming on board when they shouldn't come on board, okay? And our SRO, who's in the schools anyway, will do checks every now and then, because I find that when you have some whether it be on your computer, whether it be a security that you only use in case, and you never go back to revisit how to use it. Sometimes you forget how to log in, or sometimes you log in and it's not working anymore. So we want to have periodic checks. Okay. So the board's been asked tonight to just to approve that very short memorandum. I apologize. I thought it was in the packet. It was not. I left it on by you so you can take a look at what you're actually voting on. It's also part of the policy that's on the agenda tonight in the revision of the policy to reflect that memorandum of agreement. Parent Academy, I think I mentioned at the last meeting that, for lack of a better word, our first semester is coming to an end. This Friday at Pierpont, there will be free play executive functioning aspect of the Anxious Generation for parents of students in grades 4 to 12. And then I think that's an 8:15 start. And then the following Friday at Washington School at 8:50 in the morning will be social media and cell phone aspect of the Anxious Generation. And again, a different group of parents and students to talk to at that grade level, pre-K to 3, but actually may be the group that's best talking to, because hopefully they haven't been inducted yet into the social media club. Along those lines, I know there's a lot of discussion about, I think we do have a pretty strong policy and practice that's been in place for years. But, I've talked about the caddies that are up in the high school, because the high school is the one building that students can have their phone between classes or at lunch. The caddy's been up there. Some of the classes had them up. Not all of them did. It was, suggested. Mr. Morano has decided that beginning with the new semester, which began today, it's going to be mandatory that those caddies are in every classroom and that they're used in every classroom. So that's going to be a change to the code of conduct, for lack of a better word. Committee meetings, we have finance, building and grounds, and the negotiations team set for February 10th. I gave the times out in the communication, and they'll all be via Google Meet. And for personnel and potentially strategic planning, well, sometime before February is over, or very late as early March, we'll have a meeting. I'll be looking at the calendar and how things are falling into place, and get that out to you, ahead of time, so you're aware. Okay, and that's it.
All right, thank you, Mr. Early. Questions or comments from board members? Mrs. Jones.
It was my pleasure to be on the board when we hired Jeff Dorn, and he was hired part-time then.
Yeah, part-time.
And it was strictly drug and alcohol. I mean, I think he does more counseling now, doesn't he?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yes, but that's all it was.
Yeah.
And it was a fight to get him, because a lot of board members at that point didn't think it was necessary.
Yeah.
But he turned out to be very good.
The first year Jeff Dorn was hired, if you know Jeff, he's about 6'5",
Oh, yeah.
6'6", and I was young and pretty, okay basketball player, and we used to have the student faculty game in those days, because nobody worried those days about liability and getting sued or anything like that. And we'd sell out and it was a very competitive game. I mean, it was like a real game, me and Tom Potter, and he was young then too, believe it or not. And we'd have everybody. So we see this 6'5", 6'6" guy come in, and we're like, wow. And he went to Kennedy High School, okay, in Patterson. So we're like, wow, and we said, you play basketball? He said, yeah. So we didn't practice or anything. We just went to the game and we bring him up. I don't know where he played basketball. Maybe at the boardwalk where you trying to win a doll for your kids. So let's say he's the only faculty member that got cut after 1 year. All right. So that's about the time. And I have you to thank now for bringing him onto the basketball team.
All right.
Funny. Any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, we're going to move on to the report of the president. So I'm going to focus my report on talking about the board self-evaluation and results of that. Although we don't have a big audience, I know there's a lot of people watching. So just for the benefit of those who watch this video, I'm just going to share some highlights of our board self-evaluation, and then I'll open it up to the board for comments, discussion. So thank you, first of all, to all 9 members of the board for completing the board self-evaluation. It is considered a best practice to be able to evaluate how we think we're doing. So we look at our board work in 2 ways: how we work as a board of a whole, and individually, our own self-reflections on performance and contributions. So you'll see, I actually love digging into data and statistics, so I enjoy this, and I really enjoy looking at the previous year to see sort of where we are trending. And this year, in terms of the board as a whole, the highest ratings we gave ourselves were in the areas of effective preparation, ethical behavior, working effectively with the superintendent, and engagement with the CSA evaluation. And that was consistent across all 9 members. The lowest score, relatively speaking, which was still a pretty high score, was in the area of community engagement. So we increased from last year, but it's still an area of priority and focus for the board. And then in terms of individual performance and contributions, our highest score was really consistent, I think, in terms of board performance as a whole and individually, ethical behavior, working effectively with the superintendent, and supporting the CSA. Those were consistent from last year. Last year, we scored lowest in finance, but still, out of a rating of 1 to 4, we were 3 1/3 was our average. Finance went up substantially, which means I think we're feeling more confident overall as a board. And so policy now is the one that stands out, but we're at 3.5%. So we're still, in I think a strong place overall. In terms of comments that board members shared, a couple of things that stood out: the concept of being a unified team, of being a strong decision-making group as a board of a whole, being active and engaged, focusing on staff retention and morale as things that are important to us, and having a good mix of tenure and skills amongst board members. I see that firsthand, just serving on all the board committees. So, the teamwork, collaboration, professional knowledge, cohesiveness, these are all comments that the board evaluated as strengths of our work together. In terms of targets for improvement and further support, some things that came up is to continue to focus on engaging parents in the community, making sure that concerns are addressed through building principles, continuing to expand on board participation in school and community events, strengthening relationships, making sure we're visible in the community, increasing attendance at professional development workshops, conference, and NJSBA events. And then a number of the targets for improvement that board members listed are really, to me, speak to strategic thinking of things that the board think about. So succession plans for leadership transitions in future years, annual reviews of departmental progress, kind of a longitudinal progress review of curriculum, strategic discussions in other areas maybe we haven't discussed as much, like the arts or athletics programs. And I think the board really appreciates previous board presentations that administrators have come and done to really give us a firsthand sense. And then, of course, monitoring student achievement and aligning our board goals with district priorities. In terms of challenges facing our district, I think the top 3 that rose to the top from board members, the first are increasing financial budget constraints. Anticipated cost increases due to inflation, benefits, salary increases, cost center increases. Staff recruitment and retention, always a really important concern. Research tells us that more people leave the industry still than enter the industry. And then I think succession planning and effective onboarding and transitioning. The other fourth priority that was important to everyone was settling an REA collective bargaining agreement this year with a fair contract and reflecting an amicable process. There were other comments, but those were ones that really stood out. So I think, overall, I think the board sees itself as having a real atmosphere of trust and shared purpose. Everyone on the board takes pride in their accomplishments, the hard work, being prepared. Continuous improvement is really important so that we can serve the district as well as we can. So congratulations, everyone. I mean, obviously, we always have ways that we can continue to grow and improve, but I think this demonstrates that we're doing a lot of solid work that we can continue to build on. So with that, I will open it up to questions or comments that board members have, things they'd like to discuss that came up in the board results summary that I sent around. Mrs. Jones.
You should be congratulated on the fine job you did in summarizing that.
Thank you.
I'm so impressed.
Thank you. It
Great
is
job.
something I enjoy doing.
Great job.
Mr. Mazzone.
Yeah, I would echo Diane's comments. Synthesizing all of our responses, I know is quite a chore, so we appreciate that. You do it artfully. Also to James and Greg, though, for getting us off of the portal. Going to the Google Sheet has been a godsend, so thank you.
You started it.
Did you use AI?
Actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
I have a question about that.
Yeah, Mr. Hilly and then Mr. Conti. Go ahead.
Under training opportunities, it's written previews of AI learning and into the curriculum and instruction. I guess to understand future potential. How much really is AI advancing in our curriculum at this point? Is it?
We have a committee. Ms. O'Donnell is chairing the committee, and we have lots of teachers, some who volunteered and some who were volunteered to be on it. And they are working on developing guidelines, best practice, positive use, some things to avoid. They are looking at some districts that are a little bit ahead of us on this, have already developed guidelines, so you don't have to reinvent the whole wheel. And at some point in the next month or two, I think we'll have a good document to share about that. I think AI is in the curriculum, has been in the curriculum for a long time. I mean, I think there's, a lot of what we use as technology is really, we all use GPS, we all use certain things as AI. But I think, it's too embryonic, I think, to come up with a board policy that's going to set in stone that takes 2 readings to change, because these things develop as they go on. So this committee, I think, is off to a great start, and I'll have more concrete things to share with you on that. I do remember sitting in, as a supervisor, sitting in the principal's office with the other supervisors, and right around the time Al Gore invented the internet. And we had a discussion that we should not allow the internet in our schools, that we'll look at the havoc it's going to cause. How could we function with this? And there was a lot of debate about that. So, I think we have to move slowly, but practically when new things come our way.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Conti.
Yeah, one of the things that struck me about the self-evaluation is how diverse and all-encompassing it was. It covered multiple areas of board governance, as well as how we operate and what we're doing. It was nice to see that it wasn't just one particular area, and certainly in the comments, everyone's comments, it seems to really reflect that.
Yeah, there were a lot of varied comments. I mean, I really mentioned more of the big themes that came up, but you could see that there's a lot of individual pieces, 1, 2, 3 people sharing different things. And it's great that you brought up the role of AI that came up a couple of times. Other comments?
I just say very good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I want to echo that to everyone here. And, this is a reflection of, I think, a lot of work and pride that we put into what we're doing and why we're here. So continue the great work. And I think this will help us as we continue to look at what our continued goals are going to be as a board. So with that, if there are no other questions or comments, at 7:25 p.m., I'm going to open up the meeting to the public for any items related to the agenda this evening. And hearing none, we are going to close the meeting at 7:25 p.m. and we are going to move on to new business where there is action to be taken. And we will start with personnel. Mrs. Cole.
Good evening. Personnel did not meet this month, and we have 20 motions to put forward tonight at the recommendation of the superintendent. Number 1 is the retirement of Jeffrey Dorn, student assistant counselor at the high school with regret, effective July 1st, 2025. Number 2, the retirement of Susan Shortino, a clerical assistant at the high school with regret, effective July 1st, 2025. Number 3 is to accept the resignation of a teacher assistant at Lincoln School. Number 4, to approve a learning disabilities teacher consultant at Washington School. This is a replacement position. Number 5, 6, and 7 is to approve long-term substitute teachers at the high school. 5 and 6 is high school. Number 7 is the long-term sub at Pierpont School. Number 8 is to approve a teacher assistant at Lincoln School. Number 9 is to approve another teacher assistant at the kindergarten center. Number 10 is to approve longevity. Number 11 and 12 is to approve the start date of a disability leave with pay. Number 13, to approve a stipend for a half-year course. It's a 6th class for the 2nd semester of the school year as listed. Number 14, to approve the following as counselors for the Bulldog Care Program as listed. Number 15, to rescind approve the following coaching assignments as listed. Number 16, to approve the following teachers for presentation on using progress monitoring data to create meaningful assessments as listed. Number 17, to approve the following internships, clinical placements, student teachers as listed. Number 18, to approve the following substitute teachers as listed. Number 19, to approve the following substitute teacher assistants as listed. And number 20 is to approve the following travel reimbursements as listed.
All right. Thank you, Mrs. Cole.
There's 2 things I need to make a slight edit on, and Mr. Whitford, if you would do that for the minutes. Agenda item number 6, the start date should be effective March 3rd, not March 2nd. That's item number 6, Mr. Stacy. And then on item number 17, the last intern is listed. The teacher should be Mr. Stracco, Michael Stracco, and not Brian Ursulisi. So that's the last teacher, clinical placement student teacher, in number 17, right above 18.
Okay. Yeah. Right there, it says-
Should be Michael Stracco, not Brian Ursulisi.
All right. Any questions or comments from board members?
Just one quick
Ms.
comment.
Jones?
I'm delighted to see that Blake Brancato has finally moved up to assistant coach in track. He has given years as a volunteer, and he's very effective with the track team.
He never wanted it before for some reason, but here we are.
He never wanted
Yeah,
it?
because there's been openings. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
He's been openings. I assume that. He's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
All right. Mrs. Cole, do you want to move those?
I'd like to move motions 1 through 20 under personnel.
All right. Do we have a second? Mr. Haley, any last questions or comments? Hearing none. Mr. Whitford, please take roll.
Mr. Bogosian,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Manzone,
Yes.
Dr. Racine,
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry. Yes. Dr. Lottie.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
All right. Thank you. We're going to move on to curriculum and instruction. Ms. Jones.
Thank you. We did not have a CNI meeting, and there are 5 motions for tonight's consideration. Number 1 is the revised school calendar, which Mr. Hurley spoke about. 2 is the uniform memorandum of agreement. 3 is out-of-district placements. 4 is field trips, which are now totaling 123. And 5 is an overnight trip for the SCC LA State Championship Conference.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none. Ms. Jones, you want to move this?
I move resolutions 1 through 5.
All right, we have a second. Mr. Mazzone, any last questions or comments? Hearing none. Mr. Whitford, please take roll.
Mr. Bogosian?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maison?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry?
Yes.
Dr. Lottie?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, thank you. We'll move on now to finance. Mr. Bogosian.
Good evening. We had a Finance Committee meeting on January 13th. The meeting minutes are included in your packets. We discussed a number of things, but of note were the review of the status of the budget preparations and item number 5 on the agenda tonight, transferring the responsibility of treasurer of school money from Mr. Hurley to an independent CPA, which was a suggestion from last year's audit. Tonight on the agenda, we have 5 motions to consider. Number 1 is the routine approval of bills. Number 2 is the November treasurer's report. Number 3 is budget line transfers for November. Number 4 is approval of IT equipment purchase through a cooperative that's above our bid threshold. And number 5 is to approve Ortiz CPA to become the treasurer of school money effective February 1st at a rate of $525 a month.
All right. Anything that board members would like Mr. Early, Mr. Whitford to go over? All right, any questions or comments? Everything pretty clear, all right?
Actually, I have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We, as far as the audit and the CPA, the treasurer part, do we have to report back to the audit committee, to the auditor, that we did that?
No.
Or they just notated it that,
No, that was one of their informal recommendations.
Okay.
That they said, the way that this district has been operating, there was nothing wrong with it. But there was just a suggestion.
Yeah, I
to
remember that. I
improve
remember
the-
when he made the presentation, I wasn't sure if that was something that we had to report back, that if we executed or not. Okay,
Specifically why I called it a suggestion. It's
Suggestion.
not a recommendation.
Correct.
got it. Okay.
I just wanted to take a moment and compliment Mr. Whitford because, it's first time going through the budget process, finance process in the Rutherford district, and just the command of knowledge of the different aspects of the budget and research that was brought up, really spoke to readiness to dig in and prepare for the budget coming up. So wanted to acknowledge that. All right, Mr. Bogosian, want to move this?
I'd like to move motions 1 through 5 under finance.
All right, do we have a second? Ms. Cole, any last questions or comments? Hearing none. Mr. Whitford, please take roll.
Mr. Bogosian?
Yes.
Mrs. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Mr. Healy?
Yes.
Mrs. Jones?
Yes.
Mr. Maison?
Yes.
Dr. Racine?
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry? Yes. Dr. Lottie?
Yes.
Motion's carried.
All right, thank you. We'll move on now to policy. Mr. Healy.
Yes, we did not have a policy committee meeting since our last board meeting, but we did correspond with the administration regarding one motion tonight and regarding the policies and regulations or revisions as listed. There are 6 policy or regulation revisions and 1 new policy being put forth tonight as the first reading.
All right, are there questions or comments about this motion, policy? I just want to say, being on the policy committee members will probably agree that when we go through these, we cannot help but to be impressed at the extent that Mr. Healy, as the chair, will just ask questions to make sure that we understand how these policies could impact the district. Are there concerns about these things? And I think some of the questions are best practice questions, and some of them are specific to different policies. I appreciate your attention to detail.
Are you using AI to generate these questions?
I'm going to tell you, I don't think he is.
No, he's not. I know he's not.
Actually, they're pretty easy to research.
All right, if there are no questions or comments, then Mr. Healy, do you want to move those?
Yes, I'd like to move this one motion. Thank you.
Okay, and do we have a second? Mr. Bogosian? Any last questions or comments?
This is the first reading.
Oh, yeah, so this is the first reading, correct? We'll do this again at the next board meeting. All right, then, Mr. Whitford, please take roll.
Mr. Bogosian,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maison,
Yes.
Dr. Racine,
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry,
Yes.
Dr. Alati.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
All right, thank you. On to buildings and grounds. Mr. Sprayberry.
Good evening. We did not have a meeting this past month. We have one motion to put forth by the recommendation of the superintendent. It is for the submit the application for the fire alarm system at Lincoln School fire alarm. I would like to put that motion forward for the.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right, hearing none, Mr. Sprayberry has moved that forward. We need a second. Mr. Bogosian, any last questions or comments? Hearing none, Mr. Whitford, please take roll.
Mr. Bogosian,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Healy,
Yes.
Mrs. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Maison,
Yes.
Dr. Racine,
Yes.
Mr. Sprayberry,
Yes.
Dr. Alati.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
All right, thank you. We will move now to old business. Is there any old business? Mr. Conti?
Yeah, so Saturday I got to attend the cafe night here that the Rutherford Music Boosters, the RHS Music Boosters put on. And it was a pretty awesome event, I have to say, number one. My big three takeaways were number one, the diversity of music that we heard, everything from rap to rock, to country to folk. It was pretty amazing. And then seeing students that weren't participating in it, just being here supporting their friends was really awesome. But the thing that really blew me away out of everything was the pure talent that was on display. I mean, all of them were amazing, absolutely amazing. And I would recommend when the Music Boosters has another event like this, I would recommend you all go. It's a really amazing time. They had food and coffee, and the music was absolutely fantastic. And like I said, the talent was just amazing for sure. So it was nice to hear something completely different, like I said, rap to rock. So
Awesome. That sounds great, thank you.
I have something for old business. Were you,
I'm done. Yeah,
Christine?
Yeah, I just
You
wanted to
also-
say, did you have any feedback from the students or the teachers from the high school regarding midterm exams? From bringing it back and rolling it out?
Not yet, no. I think, it just ended today. I probably,
Yeah. Be
I would
interested to see what the
imagine-
feedback was with the change.
yeah, I haven't heard anything positive or negative. I haven't heard any, I would imagine there's going to be some attempt to get some feedback. But
I mean, I think it's great in just having two high school students. I think it was a bit of adjustment in the amount of studying that they had to prepare for this. And, no, I think it's going to prep them well for college.
Well, I was, I always was a fan of the finals and the midterms when I was
Yeah.
here. And, but then, culturally, things start to shift.
Right.
And, moved away a little bit. And I think, it became recognized that there was the need to get back to that kind of focus. And, it sided a little bit with this whole social media and cell phone thing, the attention span, the ability to focus on task for a period of time. So I think is a healthy thing. I also think that, teachers in the past, and again, I'm going back 12 years, recognized one test equating to a marking period or a half a marking period, to use judicial thought process in grading as well, So the fear was always someone's going to ruin their grade because of one test, or someone's going to, embellish their grade because of one test. Rarely happened, Usually it was consistency with how students performed, but also teachers recognized how to weigh things, So I think it's a good process. I'm happy it's back, and I hope the feedback's good. I'm sure kids are going to feel a little stressed by it, and I'm sure some teachers are going to feel a little stressed by it too. But I think, like anything else, you adapt to change and you
How much does the exam count toward the grade?
I believe the two, Mr. Met might know better than me, I think the final and the midterm count as one, right, for a full year course, and
For a full year course, each marking period is 20%, midterm is 10%, final is 10%.
right, so they each equal a marking period.
And for a semester course, it's 45%, 45%, 10%.
Right, so that's the same thing we did in the archaic days when I was principal, right? Once again, Mr. Morano just takes all my good ideas, you know? I have some old news, though, I wanted to share. I should have put it in my report, but because I mentioned it once before, it becomes old news, and I saved myself. Tomorrow, I'll be putting out to the parents and to the faculty and staff an update on the Power School data breach that happened, because we had some information now from Power School. And keep in mind, we were not breached. Power School was breached nationally. So they are reporting to us, and Ms. O'Donnell and her team have been to a couple of webinars, meetings, and web meetings, and has been in constant. We had a communication. In fact, the last one I got was about 6:15 tonight before I came over here from Power School. So they are reporting that their internal and third-party monitoring has not revealed any identity theft or information misuse. However, they will be offering 2 years of complimentary identity protection through Experian and credit monitoring service through TransUnion, and to all students or staff whose information was involved. And Power School will be reaching out to those folks, and they'll be contacting parents and guardians of students under 18 and staff members and any student now or in the past, because this goes all the way back, over 18. And they will be including information, and in what I'm sending out, there will also be a link to Power School's update on this information. Okay, I will say that with but a few exceptions over the last 20 plus years, we don't include Social Security numbers. We don't include that kind of information. Unfortunately, there were a few slide through the cracks, maybe about 10 people over the course of 20 years, that somehow that number did wind up in there. But the information primarily is name, address, things of that nature. It's not, obviously grades are in there and school schedules, but things like IEPs and 504s, they're in a separate program. They're not in there. So Power School will be taking the lead on this. They'll be contacting people. And tomorrow, this will go out to all the faculty, staff, and to the parents. A letter from me explaining what's going on. Okay.
All right, thank you. Any other old business? All right, then we'll move on to legislative update. Anything for
We
us?
don't have a legislative update tonight. I really couldn't find one that was interesting, so
Okay.
let it go this time. Just one other thing, whenever I can't make a PTA meeting, I send an email about what we're doing on the board. I don't know if anybody else has a problem, but Washington School often has Monday night PTA meetings, but I keep telling them, I can't make it.
I think this one got rescheduled, right, from some reason?
Yeah, but there's been before, that they had to, but, they can read it or they can do what they want with it, that's it.
They could edit it. Speaking of which, we didn't get a notice, but PT Council is tomorrow night, 7 o'clock.
Excellent.
I confirmed that today, so if you have a problem with it, just let me know. Okay.
No.
Dr. Lottie's waiting in the wings if you ever.
No,
Exactly.
No. No.
She forgot to send an email to her, so, yeah.
All right, at 7:44 PM, we're going to open the meeting to the public then for anything related to or not related to the agenda. And we will close the meeting to the public at 7:44 PM. We do have a need for an executive session for an update on negotiations. No action to be taken. Should be at about 15 minutes or so. Need a motion to go into executive session. Mr. Sprayberry, seconded by Dr. Racine. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everyone.